Now it's live.
We're live.
Welcome to Vidcast number 32 from Impressions. I'm Richard Bliss. This is Aldo Giazzi. And we are thrilled that you're here. Because we're thrilled to be here because it's been a while. How long has it been?
Before June?
Before June.
Probably the end of May.
So this is being filmed, we're in August.
Yeah, 4th of August, yeah.
So I'm not going to do the math in my head, but it's been a couple of months.
Well, some of us go away and do things for the summer and have kids. And
Oh, so let's see. Where did I go away to? Nowhere. Where did Aldo go away to?
I saw my father's homeland.
Italy.
So,
Tuscany?
Genoa.
Genoa, Italy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Parma.
Oh, he's just all over.
Went to go see the fatherland.
I did go to North Carolina.
You did?
I went to North Carolina and played games with Robert Burke and Steve Avery and
Josh.
Nick Bivens and Nate Bivens and Mark Cato.
Well, I have not played games in a really long time, so coming down here is like an awesome thing to do.
But we're here to talk about some games we've got in front of us a little bit, and we're going to talk about Gen Con, which is coming up. So let's talk about our corporate sponsors.
Oh,
Who's
gosh.
sponsoring the episode this time?
This is a fraction of work in the midst of my little vacation and summer fun with the family. Lots of things. This group over here, there's two on the ground, but just basically from Studio 9 Publishing, they did Treasures and Traps and Villagers and Villains. These are all three on the floor. One here, expansions for the game. Level 99 games, which you know from the Battlecon series on Kickstarter, done phenomenally well. Pixel Tactics 3. We sold out of Pixel Tactics 1 and 2. 3's coming in. We're about to sell out of 3. The next one, Province, is a 2-player only game. That actually had some ridiculous amount of Kickstarter backers. 4,000, 6,000 backers.
Wow.
Well, it's like a $5 game.
Oh, got it. If you hold it, it feels like a $5.
Yeah, I mean, it's small, and it's great, fast, two-little worker placement, resource management game, 2 players, boom, boom. So I've read the rules, and I'm going to play it tonight. Tricked Out Hero was another Kickstarter. We play tested it way before it was even produced as our little group that the game went. So this is the final production of the game. It's Dungeons and Dragons meets a trick-taking mechanic. So you're fantasy characters with powers and abilities, but taking tricks with your cards to buff up your character to be able to do things. Battle Merchants, everybody knows James Mathey.
Minion Games.
Manhattan Project, he does all those recommendations and stuff, blogs, and all that recommendations for people helping out. This is his latest, Battle Merchants. Basically, you are merchants supplying weapons to all sides of the war. And whoever makes the most money.
What kind of fantasy game is that? What kind of fantasy is that?
So, and in the midst of this, we've missed 2 issues of Spielbox magazine. There's actually 1 behind there.
Ooh, and when you open these up, you can be able to...
Yes, you can open them.
What?
They're not as collectible now that I've really started bringing them in for distribution. They're not as rare.
What? You get to open it?
This has a free mini expansion for Istanbul. And that's their key pull. And this one has a mini expansion for a game called Lines, which I'm pretty positive isn't out in the US yet, but it is out in Europe, and it is coming out by, I think, Asmodee soon. Don't quote me on that. Role-playing games, Castles and Crusades. People think, like, oh, why is that new? It's been around forever. Yes, it's been around for like 12 years. This is the 6th printing of the player's
It just keeps going, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like standard now. And it's funny now that everybody's talking about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, which I know you're not a role-playing fan, but the starter box came out for D&D, and everybody's like, this is like Castles and Crusades, and it's kind of funny. So,
Great brand association.
Yeah, I was gonna say I talked to Steve about it. He goes, "Oh, haven't you been reading our forums?" I go, "No, I haven't bought your forums. This is just what I'm hearing from just reading, stuff." The last one, Mindjammer, is transhuman science fiction role playing. Big book from the guys at Vidcast.
Okay.
Yes. Very good opportunity to Hulu. This is their latest offering in the role-playing realm. So obviously, there's even more than this that we've been putting out.
Boxes back there.
Right. Apologies.
That's right. And tonight we're having a swap meet too. So we're people are
we're staging games. So
lots of games here for the game group too.
Yeah. So we call this Gen Con in the game.
Why do we call this Gen Con in the game? Because Gen Con is just around the corner.
Yeah, it's next week.
Next
I'll be
week.
there. Will you?
Aldo will be there. I will not. So go check out. If you want to say hi to me, go find Aldo. Say hi. Because then he'll come back and say hi to me.
I saw so-and-so.
Yeah.
Say hi.
And actually, and I say that a little tongue in cheek, but people have reached out to me saying, I'm going to Gen Con. Do you have any advice? How do I meet people? And I thought, go talk to Aldo. Aldo's the guy you're going to Gen Con to go find because he knows everybody. And Aldo loves to talk. He doesn't like being by himself, so if you see him by himself, walk up and you'll have a great conversation. And he'll just tell you everything he knows.
I'm either going to be at a meeting or I'm going to be at the Troller Games booth, Castles and Crusades, or I'll be at Joe Goodman's booth, the Goodman Games booth, because I hang out with them for lunch, dinner.
And he sees them all the time, talks to them all the time, so he would love to talk to you. So go find out.
But I do have meetings out there to meet and talk with people, but this is where this conversation is. It's people always ask, even the first timers with their booth. It's like, well, this is my first time at the booth at Gen Con. I even just talked to a new client today. His first one, he's all worried because he's in the back right in the Entrepreneur Alley, facing the back end, not in the midst of the aisles. What can I do? You know, is anybody going to care about me even if I was in prime placement in the middle? So that's the biggest worry for people because these booths cost a lot of money.
Okay, and I can appreciate that. And let's do a little set first. We've only got 20 minutes. We've already used up like almost 5 of it. But let's do a little set. Gen Con this year, how many games, and you don't have to have a number, but just as a little Kickstarter project games, owners, how many people are descending on Gen Con? Kickstarter.
Look at me shake my head. I started shaking my head before you finished this sentence because it's overwhelming. I think we've said this multiple times, but it's kind of like when I say, how do you market to the game? Conventions. Now my answer to Kickstarter is it's overwhelming. There's so much out there.
Which means, and the reason I bring this up is we're starting to talk about Gen Con is that unlike, I went 2 years ago and I took a camera crew with me and we went around and asked people randomly in the show, what do you think about Kickstarter? And you know what I got?
Like 9 out of 10 blank stares to your face.
9 out of 10. People are like, what's Kickstarter? And that was 2 summers ago. And now it's overwhelming, which means that you are faced with an incredible Herculean challenge. That was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed that. Because you're going to go into this galaxy and you're not going to be able to guard it. Oh, no, that was another great movie. Come on.
I'm behind on movies.
He is. But here's the point. You got to do something to stand out. You got to do something different to stand out. Because you are in that back corner, nobody's going to find you. And it's just going to be random people who are looking for free handouts or giveaways or something. We call them show floor rats who are just going around with bags saying, what do you got to hand out? Right?
Yeah, and I told this guy, he said, well, should I do this or this or this? And I'm like, you need to do it all.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, I've got a $60 game. I said, if you have a $60 game, it's hard enough to convince to get you. You're a one-time person, a first-time person, one-time game. What else can you do? And he's like, well, drawing for a T-shirt. I'm like, no, you should give a T-shirt to everybody.
T-shirts are free.
You should give this with a purchase. You should give that with a purchase.
So here, I've got an idea for you. This audience likes cool fantasy stuff. It's Gen Con. Give something away, spend some money, rather than spending all that money on T-shirts. How much money do you think you'd spend on T-shirts? Do you ever make T-shirts?
Probably cost of goods is about $3 to $5.
And how many are you giving away? 100?
Well, you hope to sell 100 copies of your game.
So you're spending $300 to $500 on T-shirts. Do you know what you can buy for $500? What could you buy online for one thing that would be cool for $500? Let's do something. Lord of the Rings, Sword of the Anduil, Flame of the West, Sword of Aragorn. Okay. I think you can get that for a couple $100. Give one of those away. All right. Put it in your booth. Helm of Elendil. I think that runs about $135. Give that away.
So you're saying one big draw.
Yeah, but wait a minute. The problem is that, okay, you've got that one draw, but you still have to have people find you, right? Yeah. If you're giving away a cool thing and nobody finds you, you just gave it away to the 10 people who want to buy it, you failed. What you need to do is leverage other people who are in the same boat as you. So, you've got how far? I got an answer to that question.
Have you ever seen the Cheese Weasel thing?
The Cheese Weasel. Yes, but the Cheese Weasel is already doing it, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. So the Cheese Weasel, explain the Cheese Weasel, James.
So Cheese Weasel is a company that years and years ago were helping small press publishers get traffic. They did this whole prize thing where if you fill out the card and visit all these booths and listen for 3 minutes, that you'll get something for filling out the card, like a bingo card. And it's grown and grown and grown. Even this company that's in the back, he goes, and I'm with the Cheese Weasel thing. I'm like, oh, you're a first timer and you're with the Cheese Weasel thing. That's great. So, I mean, I agree with you, but I again think gamers would love to say 1, 2, 3, 4 things.
Yes, but you realize you've got to do something to stand out. So the Cheese Weasel is working. It doesn't mean you can't do it yourself. So this is what I used to do at my shows when I would go. I didn't know anybody. I would take $2,000. Okay, $2,000 is a lot of money. But then I would go and approach other vendors, other booths, and say, would you be willing to toss in, let's say $100, maybe $200, and we're going to give away, at the time, it was a 40-inch TV. Mm-hmm. But let's say it's a 50-inch TV. Let's say pick something big that cost about $2,000. Go get 20 vendors to each give you $100. Now you're giving away. Now I know there's some restrictions on what you can do, what you can give away. Yeah. But give that thing away. Put it up in your booth. Make it that big. That's what you're giving away. And now everybody has to go to everybody's booth and come back to yours to be entered to win and post it. That type of traffic building is what you need to do to stand out. That's my main issue.
And combine that, though, with the situation where you just have one booth. You spent your $1,200, I think, for a Gen Con booth, just your 8-foot by 8-foot or 10-foot by 10-foot space. It's like, and then what can you do with it? You stand there with your product displayed like this going,
please.
You want a demo again? You want to? Can I bring it? It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. I remember doing it back in the day when I had my own games, and it was a desperate time back then to convince people to stop up at your booth when you're not Fantasy Flight or Mayfair or Privateer Press or ISO or whoever. With all those lines, Thursday morning, everybody's standing in line at the whatever booth, and we're sitting there going, great, well, standing over there. So it's very, very hard. Specials, tchotchkes, giveaways, demos, of course.
Demos.
You
know, somebody's got a big lineup of people waiting at the booth. Hey, try this. Take your T-shirt, make it a distinctive T-shirt that say something challenging, right? I hate standing in line. Something. Hand it out in their line.
Did you know you can't do that at Gen Con?
There's ways to
So Gen Con's rules are you cannot have people around the show floor
giving things out,
saying, come to my booth, come to my booth.
Can't do that. They've got rules. So what you do, though,
is wear the T-shirt walking by the people.
Yes. You can say, look
at my T-shirt, look at my T-shirt.
If you wear my T-shirt at a demo, you're entered to win the prize of this. And that thing is that big thing again. There's all kinds of ways, though.
But to me,
there are rules.
You are combining this with demoing your game, demo. And another thing that's changed over the last few years is that connecting demo room. Did you see it 2 years ago? It's connected to the exhibit hall. You walk through the doors, and it's everybody demoing games. There are tons of people who don't have a booth. So what do you do?
Right, what do you do?
What do you do when you don't have a booth? Well, that room, you can schedule events and demos. And again, I'm going to bring up James Matthew. James has said, he's like, I'm sick of standing at booths. This is ridiculous. Although you have distribution for me. People say they've gotten my game, or stores have it. He goes, so I'm not selling as much at Gen Con. I have a big line now. I'm okay with it. Blah blah blah. He's like, I'm just going to go in the room and demo. Perfect. And that's what he did. And that's what he does. He has this other speed dating thing where designers can go every night, show off their games to private publishers, which he has. He's scheduled for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. If you're an aspiring game designer or somebody who is showing off your game, trying to meet with people, talk to James about his speed dating.
How do you find James? Go online, go on to Facebook.
He's big on Facebook and all the forums too.
He is. Go find him. James Matthew, M-A-T-H-E. Go find him. He'll connect with you. He's another person. Alda and James are two people to really connect with because they're connectors.
But what else can you do if you have a game and you don't have a demo schedule? You don't have you're going to be like, I've got my game here.
Yeah. You gotta be interesting. So we got the one person who was on my show who what they did was they baggies. They put the game in baggies, and they took 500 baggies to Gen Con and handed them out. Would you like a demo game? Would you like a demo game?
I assume it was a small game.
Right, it was a smaller game, kind of a print-and-play type prototype. And then on that, they had a card with a QR code that allowed people to actually, if they were interested, right then to scan. It took them straight to their Kickstarter page, and because his Kickstarter was running live at the time, and he was able to pick up enough funding to close his $10,000 round of funding for his Kickstarter.
Cool idea.
No booth, nothing going on. Yet he was able to blitz it.
And imagine though, if you're a person who's trying to pitch game design, you're not going to publish yourself. We've said this a lot of times. Obviously dress to impress, look decent, but I always say make appointments beforehand as humanly possible. And if you don't have an appointment, walk up and say, "Excuse me, what are your terms? What are your what do I need to do to be considered for a game to be looked at?" Like, just let me know. Not like you want to do it right now. Just say, is
there a time? Can I get on your calendar?
Is there a time? Do you have an appointment?
Here's something we did when we weren't allowed to hand out T-shirts beyond outside our booth. After the keynote, at a conference, after the keynote, when everybody's letting out, what I did, and we had some pretty cool T-shirts, I had my staff simply walk down, loaded down with T-shirts, headed towards our booth, right? Just loaded it down, walking along, not saying anything, and people are like, "Hey, what can I get one of those T-shirts?" "Oh, here you go." And they just keep walking. "Hey, what can? Oh, here you go."
And people would see the "here you go," and it would probably snowball.
Yes, because then they're chasing them, and the goal was for them not to reach the booth with any T-shirts. Technically, then, they weren't handing them out. They were on the way to the booth to give them away. They weren't saying, we did not allow them to say or pitch anything. But it was so obvious that people were like, "Hey, can I have one of those?" Yeah. And then just keep walking. So that's something, get yourself one of those push cart things. Load it up with T-shirts. And then just start slowly pushing your way, and people are like, "Hey, what is that?" "Oh, that's a T-shirt."
Gamers always look all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and then you're saying a card.
You might get in trouble.
Once. But then, you know what? Then people ask me when I'm saying about carding or carrying things, how much do I have to bring? Although Gen Con is 50, 60,000 people. Shouldn't I bring 1,000 games? And I'm like,
how many do you bring?
This was a forum post too, and I threw on with my competitor was on the same forum, the guys who handle Steve Jackson games, and we kept liking each other's posts because he would say what I wanted to say, vice versa, and we were filling it in. And I tell people, if you're a newer, smaller, medium, you're not maker, you're not fantasy flight, not whatever. If you're the normal person trying out, no more than 100. There, 9 times out of 10, you will not need more than 100 copies of your brand new, never before seen game. And if you're a company that has some previous games, maybe 50 copies of a previous game, depending. And of course, there's exceptions to these rules. Obviously, like if Laboratory comes with Province, it's a tiny little game. Its volume is going to be different. But if you're a traditional $40, $50, $60 game, to bring more than 100 is ridiculous. I'll tell clients, I'll send you 150. If I'm wrong, you can get really mad at me. I'll bite you. Blah. And trust me, it's much better than bringing, like last year, a client forced me to bring 300 of 3 of his games. And they were big games. And I said to him, I go, and I think by accident, I only gave him 250 of each. And, he sold like 40. I'm not kidding, like 40 of each. So it's a tough situation. And if you can sell more than 100, physically sell for money, the price, not half off and all that other stuff. More than 100 copies and you're new, first time, and you're not Cards Against Humanity.
Are people there to buy games?
Yes, people get into their lines on Thursday. That's the biggest thing. A lot of my friends who know, they go, I don't need to be set up on Thursday because they're all busy at the lines. And they'll get in line for Predator Press, who does pre-releases and weird miniatures and Paizo and Fantasy Flight. All these guys are doing their pre-release, the advanced copies of the games.
I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about your game. Are people really there to buy your game?
I think people are there to buy something that their other gamer friends get.
Oh, that's a good point.
And to get those things, which is why Kickstarter reward levels are obviously a big draw. But I tell people when you go to Gen Con, offer something that they can't get anywhere else unless it's from you. Don't offer it through stores, no offense to stores or distributors, but always have one thing that say, hey, come to my booth and I'll give you this free thing that you can't get anywhere else.
Go to Amazon and check out Parrot Drones.
Parrot Drones?
Parrot Drones.
I'm not even going to ask.
No, I'm telling you.
Have you done it for 20 minutes yet?
No, it's a brand. I'm telling you, they got a $99 mini drone. And actually, it's it's a little kids quadcopter type thing, but it takes pictures and photos, and you can put wheels on it, so it can actually roll around the ground, roll up the wall, and roll across the top of the ceiling. You know how hard sometimes it's to fly something? No, this just rolls. And I'm telling you, those type of little giveaways, $100, $300 for the real flying one that mounts with the GoPro camera and all that thing, that will get your attention. T-shirts are nice, but everybody's giving away T-shirts. Yeah. Go for something that's unique, and you don't have to give away to everybody, but just something that makes people go, holy cow, what is that? And give 2 or 3 because you want that first person to win it and carry it around, and people say, where did you get that? And then your booth will line up. I'm telling you. All right, we're about out of time.
So, yeah, I will say, I hope to people, if you do see me at Gen Con, I think I'll be the only local guy that says Alder wandering around. Stop me if we talk in forums. You've seen the Vidcast. I'd love to hear your feedback live. If you think Richard being taller than me is a good or a bad.
Well, that's because I'm on a box.
If I should find,
I'm on a chair.
Find somebody else to do this with in case, I don't know, if it's
I'm not standing on my chair now.
What was the last thing you wanted to do before that?
I'm going to promote my own book.
Oh, the Stealing the Show.
Stealing the Show. This is a book you can find on Amazon, Stealing the Show. I wrote it. And it's about how to go to a trade show and stand out and steal the show from those who are spending all that money and you're small and tiny. This book helps you understand some of the ideas that I just gave you. So go check it out on Amazon. Ooh, look at you. Yeah, hey, look, a little product placement here. All right, we had a great time talking about it.
Thank you.
Aldo's going to have a great time at Gen Con. It'll be maybe a month or so before we do it.
You're going to be away now.
I'll be away, and then Labor Day weekend will be at Pacific Con.
Yeah, we have a local shop.
Here in Santa Clara. And I'm going to be hosting a 12-player Memoir 44, which takes 8 base games to play. It fits here in our game room here in the studio. And we'll be trying to put one of those together as well. So if you're in the area and you want to participate, you be sure to let me know. All right, great.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. This has been another great show.
Yeah, and you don't have the room to walk around this time.
I can't walk around.
Come around. Thanks for everything, guys. See ya.